Imagine this. It's 1959, and 9 experienced hikers head into the icy Ural Mountains of Russia, ready for an adventure. But they never come back. Weeks later, their bodies are found in one of the most bizarre and chilling scenes ever recorded. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident, one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. Meet the Dyatlov group, 9 young adventurers, most in their 20s, led by Igor Dyatlov, a skilled outdoorsman. They were students and friends from a university in Sverdlovsk, now called Yekaterinburg, and they'd tackled tough hikes before. Their plan: a 14-day trek through the Ural Mountains to reach a peak called Otorten. It was a test of endurance and a chance to explore the wild beauty of Russia's frozen north. The Ural Mountains are stunning but brutal, with biting winds and deep snow. Locals even call one spot Dead Mountain, a name that would soon feel all too fitting. Thanks to diaries and photos left behind, we know the group started strong. They laughed, sang, and snapped pictures of the snowy trails. On January 31st, they set up camp on the slopes of Kolatsyakl. Yep, that's Dead Mountain. It was a smart spot, just below the ridge, shielded from the worst winds. Everything seemed fine, but as night fell on February 1st, something went horribly wrong. What happened next would leave investigators and the world scratching their heads for decades. Weeks passed with no word from the group. A search party finally set out, and what they found was straight out of a nightmare. The hiker's tent was still standing, but it was slashed open from the inside. Clothes, gear, and food were left behind, untouched. Then came the bodies. The first 2 were found a mile away, half dressed by a makeshift fire, as if they'd fled in a panic. Others were scattered across the snow, some with crushed skulls, one missing her eyes and tongue. No signs of a struggle, no animal tracks, just pure, unexplainable chaos. What could have driven them out into the freezing night? What followed was a wave of silence. The official investigation, led by Soviet authorities in 1959, concluded with just 7 words. The cause of death was an unknown compelling force. That was it. No detailed reasoning, no transparent follow-up, no accountability. And then, the files were sealed. For decades, it was the first major sign that this was more than just a tragic hiking accident. In 2019, after global interest resurged, the Russian government reopened the case. Their updated conclusion: a delayed slab avalanche. According to their findings, a layer of snow above the tent dislodged hours after setup. It supposedly struck the tent, causing the hikers to panic, cut their way out, and flee into the night, where they succumbed to hypothermia and injuries. It was neat. It was scientific. It explained the panic, but it didn't hold up. The tent was still standing when investigators arrived. It hadn't been crushed, buried, or shifted. The slope's angle wasn't steep enough to naturally trigger a slab avalanche. And most importantly, some of the injuries didn't match avalanche trauma. One hiker's skull was fractured with the force of a car crash, yet there were no visible signs of blunt impact to the skin. Another had shattered ribs, but no external bruising. These weren't the kind of injuries caused by falling snow. They were caused by pressure, but from what? Then came something even more disturbing: radiation. Several pieces of clothing found at the site tested positive for radioactive contamination. According to official documents, 2 of the hikers had background levels far exceeding the norm. So where did it come from? Some theorized that the group had unknowingly wandered into a Soviet weapons testing zone. Others suggested the hikers may have previously worked in radioactive environments, contaminating their gear long before the trip. But if that's the case, why were these specific facts withheld for so many years? And why were the files classified until the collapse of the Soviet Union? A prominent theory suggests the group may have been accidental witnesses to a secret military experiment, possibly parachute mines or aerial weapons testing. These devices were designed to detonate above ground, causing widespread internal injuries without leaving external trauma. The injuries match, the remoteness of the site fits, and the government's unusual urgency to close and suppress the case lines up perfectly. Eyewitness reports from nearby villages spoke of bright orange spheres in the sky around the time of the incident, descriptions that echo early missile or flare testing. If the hikers stumbled upon something they weren't meant to see, it could explain the rapid cover-up and the silence that followed. One of the more scientifically grounded theories is the infrasound hypothesis. In certain wind conditions, the geography of the mountain can create low-frequency sound waves, powerful enough to affect human physiology. Though inaudible, infrasound can trigger intense feelings of unease, nausea, and irrational panic. In theory, these sound waves might have disoriented the hikers, causing them to flee their tent in a confused, terrified state. But while compelling, this theory doesn't explain the traumatic physical injuries found in several of the bodies, or the strategic ways some of them attempted to survive. Beyond science and military speculation lies a darker, more mysterious edge to the story, one that draws on the legends of the region. The Dyatlov hikers were trekking through an area known to the local Mansi people as Kholat Syakhl, meaning Dead Mountain. The land has long been considered sacred and dangerous. Some believe the group may have disturbed something ancient or spiritual. Others believe they were targeted, not by humans, but by something unknowable. These ideas, while impossible to prove, reflect the very real fear and superstition that still surrounds the mountain to this day. Despite dozens of books, documentaries, and forensic reviews, no theory has ever fully explained what happened on the night of February 1st, 1959. In the end, the most enduring clue is the one that was written down by investigators over half a century ago. An unknown compelling force, whether that force came from nature, government, or something else entirely, we may never know. What we do know is that 9 young hikers, all experienced, all prepared, all intelligent, walked into the Ural Mountains and never came back. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most chilling cold cases in modern history, a mystery that's been buried under snow, silence, and speculation for more than 60 years. And the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. So now the question is yours. What do you believe happened? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading every theory. And if you made it this far, consider subscribing, because this isn't the last story the world tried to bury.